or tune it in the sun. This is TFM. Get ready to rock. From AM to PM. Come on. Let's talk.
TFM 95.4.
Let's talk.
Live on TFM and the TFM Facebook page. This is the live feed of TTV. Let's talk.
Hello and welcome to Midday Update. This is the latest update from our newsroom. The Ministry of Health today announced the registration of 6 new coronavirus deaths in the country. The death toll has now touched 603 in Oman due to the virus so far, the officials at the Ministry of Health informed. They also extended their deepest condolences to the family of the deceased. Officials at the Ministry of Health also announced the registration of 188 new coronavirus cases in the country today. This has brought the total number of coronavirus cases registered in the Sultanate to 83,606. According to the Ministry of Health, this number also includes the recovery of 78,188 patients and 188 deaths. The ministry has urged everyone to adhere to social distancing instructions issued by the Supreme Committee and the Ministry of Health, as well as staying at home and not going out unnecessary. It's time for a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we have more latest updates your way. Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Midday Update. A statement issued by the Oman TV on Tuesday said that His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq has issued a royal decree number 111/2020 about the information of Council of Ministers. His Highness Sayyid Fahad bin Mahmood Al Said is Deputy Prime Minister for Cabinet Affairs. His Highness Sayyid Shihab bin Tariq bin Taimur Al Said is Deputy Prime Minister for Defence Affairs. His Highness Sayyid D. Yazan bin Haitham bin Tariq is the Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth. Khalid bin Hilal Al Busaidi is the Minister of the Royal Court. General Sultan bin Muhammad Al Nomani is the Minister of the Royal Police. Sayyid Hamoud bin Faisal Al Busaidi is the Minister of Interior. Sayyid Badr bin Hamad bin Hamoud Al Busaidi is the Foreign Minister. Sultan bin Salim Al Habsi is the Minister of Finance. Sheikh Abdullah bin Muhammad bin Abdullah Al Salmi is the Minister of Awqaf and Religious Affairs. Dr. Muhammad bin Hamad Al Rumhi is the Minister of Energy and Minerals. Dr. Ahmad bin Muhammad bin Ubaid Al Saidi is the Minister of Health. Dr. Madiha bint Ahmad bin Nasir Al Shibani is the Minister of Education. Sayyid Saud bin Hilal Al Busaidi is the Minister of State and Governor of Muscat. Dr. Abdullah bin Muhammad Al Saidi is the Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs. Dr. Abdullah bin Nasir Al Harasi is the Minister of Information. Sayyid Muhammad bin Sultan Al Busaidi is the Minister of the State and Governor of Dhofar. Sayyid Ibrahim bin Said Al Busaidi is the Minister of State and Governor of Musandam. Salim bin Muhammad Al Mahruki is the Minister of Heritage and Tourism. Dr. Saud bin Hamoud bin Ahmad Al Habsi is the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Water Resources. Dr. Rahma Al Mahruki is the Minister of Higher Education. Engineer Said bin Hamoud Al Mawali is the Minister of Transport, Communications and Information Technology. Dr. Said bin Muhammad Al Sakri is the Minister of Economy. Qais Al Yusuf is the Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment Promotion. Laila bint Ahmad Al Najjar is the Minister of Social Development. Dr. Mahad bin Said Bouin is the Minister of Labour. Dr. Khalfan Al Shuwaili is the Minister of Housing and Urban Planning. Yesterday, His Majesty issued 28 royal decrees, and this was one of the royal decrees that was issued yesterday. Moving on, the State Council forwarded to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq the draft amendment of the income tax law with the opinion of the two councils. The council also discussed the draft law on value-added tax known as VAT, referred by the Council of Ministers as a matter of urgency and the report of the Council's Economic Committee on it. After the discussion, it was decided to return the draft law to Majlis Ash-Shura to consider the articles and identify any discrepancy in it. The Council appreciated the noble directives of His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq to establish the Job Security Fund and issued a decree approving its system, working mechanisms and financing, noting that the fund will guarantee social security to Omani society. He stressed that the fund will play a tangible role in identifying practical and effective solutions for Omanis whose services have been terminated, and that it will also contribute later in helping job seekers. Doctors at the Hawla Hospital succeeded recently in removing a 6.2 kg tumor for a 46-year-old Omani patient. Many years ago, the patient noticed a swelling in his back of his right thigh. However, 6 months before, he noticed that the swelling has grown in size. After evaluating the patient, it was concluded that he has a malignant tumor measuring 31 into 12 into 14 centimeter that needed to be removed, a statement from the hospital said. It also continued saying that the difficult part was that the main blood vessel and nerve crucial for the function of the leg was very close to the tumor. Therefore, they were at risk of damage at the time of the operation, and any damage to any of these structures would have been catastrophic, rendering the leg functionless. The surgery, which lasted for approximately 3.5 hours, was performed by a medical team comprising of Dr. Ranjit Kumar, tumor surgeon, Dr. Yasir Abbas, vascular surgeon, and Dr. Said al-Busaidi, plastic surgeon. According to the statement, the patient is recovering and expected to be able to walk like before in about 2 to 3 weeks. Shopkeepers in Matrasu are a little hopeful of business returning back to normal in the next few weeks, but they know that it will take time before they are thriving once again, as people's spending capacities have been significantly hit by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic in the country. Matrasu is among the establishments allowed to reopen under orders from the Supreme Committee to deal with COVID-19. Abdul Salam runs an incense shop in Matrasu. After Muscat municipality sanitized the entire souk, he and the 2 others who worked in his store began tidying up their shop and arranging their products once more. Although he is optimistic customers will return, he knows times are tough for everyone right now. Now, talking to Times of Oman, the shopkeeper said that for the last 5 months, we have no business there. For some times, it had been really hard. Fortunately, our landlord has not asked us for our shop rent during this time because he knows our plight. Tuesday was the only first day of the reopening, but we are looking forward to more and more people coming to our shops to buy things. Before this disease came to Oman, I used to get a lot of tourists who used to come to my shop and sold about 100 Omani riyals worth of goods every day. I hope that I can get back to the business that I used to receive previously. The Central Bank of Oman has recently issued new coins in denominations of 50, 25, 10 and 5 paisas. A statement issued online by Oman News Agency said, the Central Bank of Omani issued a batch of new coins in denominations of 50, 25, 10 and 5 paisa, which will be in circulation as of next month. The new coins bears the name of His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq. It's time to take a quick commercial break, but stay tuned as we have a very interesting guest joining us who's going to talk about Oman's youth and sustainable development goals. So stay tuned. Welcome back to TTV. As I mentioned before going on a quick commercial break that we have a very interesting guest joining us for today's session. She will be talking about Oman's youth and the sustainable development goals. So let's welcome our guest for today, Alena Dique, who's the coordinator at UNCTAD Youth Action Hub Oman. Thank you, Alena, for joining us today.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
It's absolutely our pleasure to Alena. So before we start the conversation, I really want to know about this organization, UNCTAD, because if I'm not wrong, not a lot of people are familiar with the role of it and what does it really do?
So UNCTAD is the intergovernment organization of the United Nations generally. is located in Geneva, Switzerland, and its main aim is to promote trade, investment, and development. And actually, UNCTAD is not new for UNCTAD has been working with a lot of organizations in Oman, such as the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, ITRA, TRC, SQU, Ministry of Finance, to name a couple of them.
So that is just the organization UNCTAD. Now, Alena, what is UNCTAD
Yes.
Youth Oman? What is its main role?
That's a lovely question, and that's exactly why I'm here today. So UNCTAD actually created a new network called the UNCTAD Youth Network. You see, there are about 1.5 to 1.8 billion youth around the world, and we're actually the largest population till date in terms of youth. So UNCTAD believes that young people can play a very vital role when it comes to the implementation of the Agenda 2030, which are the global goals. So in an innovative approach to kind of engage youth into the conversation, the Youth Action Hubs were launched by the UNCTAD Youth Network in Geneva in 2018. So our goal is actually to think globally, but to act locally.
Well, that's a very interesting goal, Alena, that you shared with us. So you just mentioned that it was formed in 2018. It's
Yes.
not wrong to say that it's relatively, new. What kind of role
Yes.
or what kind of aim does it have in mind for the youth in Oman?
So like I mentioned, the Youth Action Hubs were actually launched in 2018. And in 2019, we actually went on to certifying the coordinators for these Youth Action Hubs globally. Globally now, about countries who are invested in creating these hubs for their own respective countries. And the good news here is that Oman is the first Youth Action Hub in the GCC. And we launched literally just a couple of days ago, 12th of August, which is International Youth Day.
Well, in that way, congratulations to you, Alena. I was just going to ask you the next question, that when did it come to Oman and how has the journey been? Now, knowing that it just came on 4th August and it's too early to ask about the journey, but I would really want to know about the plans. What are the plans for the youth of Oman? And Alena, what has been your role lately? For how long have you been, working with this organization?
So I've been with them for almost 2 years now. However, the Youth Action Hub, of course, is relatively new. Now, let's get into kind of talking about the Action Hub in itself. The Youth Action Hub Oman, or we call them as Yahoo, is basically created to raise awareness about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, the term sustainable is not new to anybody in the Sultanate of Oman. However, the Sustainable Development Goals, or global goals, which we may also know them as, range from things such as, good health and well-being, partnerships, life below water, life on land, innovation, creative infrastructure, quality education. It is actually an entire blueprint into how you can transform economies. And that's what we are doing at the Youth of Oman. We're kind of trying to facilitate corporate partnerships in support with UNCTAD Youth Geneva to bring it all the way down to youth engagement.
So since the establishment, are you receiving any response, any feedback from the people in Oman? Are you seeing any kind of progress in that terms?
Well, like I said, it's really, really new. But the good news is we have just completed the recruitment of the entire team. We have 30 youth participants from Oman who have already been finalized for their 2020-2021, and they will also be announced shortly on our social media platform.
Sorry, Alena, I lost you towards the end. Could you please repeat the last sentence?
Yes. We have recently completed the recruitment of our Youth Action Hub in Oman, and we are already ready to launch them on our social media platforms.
Well, all the best. I hope it is a huge success because, considering the time right now, Alena, we are still in the middle of the pandemic and COVID-19 has literally turned everyone's life around. So do you think, considering that situation, it has made more for you all to work towards achieving the sustainable development goals?
It's a complicated question. So COVID has basically created both health and economic challenges for us. And it's not only Oman, it's globally, in fact. And from going from a response phase to a recovery phase, we are now at the reimagine phase. And it comes in perfect timing with the new structure of our government as well. The idea basically is that no one gets left behind. And we're also trying to do at the Youth Action Hub in Oman, where we include a diverse background, diverse cultures come together, and we all work together towards the of these 17 Sustainable Development Goals in Oman.
Right, Alena, you just mentioned that the recruitment process has just recently been completed. What is the way forward from here?
Yes.
What is the next step that the UNCTAD Youth Division is planning to take?
There's a lot of plans in the pipeline, but the first foremost that we're kind of into imitation is creating about the goals in actuality. So we do have 17 advocates, and each of these advocates represents a respective goal, and they will be talking about the SDG in particular, creating awareness, talking about projects. And the whole idea is also something that we came up with on 12th of August, which is International Youth Day. We launched a program known as Your Youth Partner, which also talks about having youth as a partner moving forward in any kind of event, scenario, or initiative, where youth are actually here to promote an inclusive and sustainable economy.
So, Alena, you just mentioned about the Your Youth program. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It's
Yes.
Your Youth program, right? So, how do people participate,
Yes.
or how do they involve? How are you going to tell viewers, like, how, if they're interested, what are the steps that they need to take to participate in this program?
More information will definitely up on our social media pages. For now, I wouldn't want to burst anybody's bubble and let out some of the plans which are in the pipeline. But for the foreseeable future, we definitely intend to use this youth partner program to engage more effectively with public-private enterprises and bring out new initiatives or programs or collaborations that can actually roll out into the youth of Oman. Because also keeping in mind that the International Youth Day theme was youth engagement for global action. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. To start at your local, go up to national, and then perhaps global.
Right. And Alena, recently UNCTAD Youth Oman hosted the 2020 Youth Conference for the Middle East and Africa. What was the main idea behind this conference? What was discussed there? Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, so we had the pleasure of being a part of the Youth Conference 2020 Middle East and Africa this year. And it was a fantastic way to bring youth from the Middle East as well as the African region together to talk and discuss about the different developments, the different ideas and ideology that you have moving around this region. And one of the, actually not one, I'll name a couple of them, that we spoke about were in terms of youth enrichment, in terms of what kind of trainings, what kind of employment opportunities, what kind of skills that are needed moving forward. We also spoke about things such as entrepreneur opportunity. We all know we are at a phase where we're looking at either creating MSMEs or SMEs. And because of the COVID situation, the pandemic that came up, as a result of that, a lot of SMEs and MSMEs were affected globally. And all the entrepreneurs, young or older as well, had to basically shut down their enterprises because of this entire pandemic. And we also spoke about digital access. Digital access in the sense that the entire pandemic, what happened was we had a subconscious shift from the normal to a digital age. And this is something that is going to stay. We have to focus on creating more digital access platforms, going more online, and everything nowadays would actually require a work from home or a remote working anyway. So I think that is something that was also a very, very important topic talked about at the conference.
Thank you so much, Alena. It's time for us to take a quick commercial break, but you all stay tuned as we're still in conversation with Alena. Welcome back to TTV. You're watching Midday Update, and today we have Alena Dique, who's the coordinator for UNCTAD Youth Action Hub Oman. Alena, before going on a commercial break, you gave us a very nice brief of the UNCTAD and the youth division of the UNCTAD in Oman and the goals that you all plan to achieve. Could you tell us a little more about the current situation? You know, you just said people are working from home. Are you all also devising a plan accordingly, you know, until the situation calms down, until everything is back to normal? Are you also trying to work from home?
Of course, safety first, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Of course, our entire recruitment also was done online, and thanks to platforms such as Zoom, we were able to kind of do it all very smoothly online. And when you talk about the entire Youth Action Hub and what we're looking into, let me give you some numbers. So there is a ratio called ratio that is looked at globally. So NEET, which is NEET, stands for not in education, employment, or training. This is one of the ratios that we take very seriously when it comes to the Youth Action Hub. Currently, there are about 25 million youth only in the Arab region that are not in employment, education, training. And what we're trying to do is kind of bridge that gap through these hubs globally to provide opportunities that could also trickle down into employment and, you know, educational input. And let me give you a number. Reading statistics about the amount of digital jobs that are going to be introduced because of the COVID pandemic phase is about 149 million. So if you think about it, because of this entire shift to a digital age, we're now looking at a lot of the jobs being done online, and a lot of them in terms of digital development, software development, cybersecurity. These are all the main topics that are coming up at the moment. And we at the Youth Action Hub are actually very, very happy to be able to engage with them. And we also recently were a part of the World Cybersecurity Summit for the MENA region 2020 in line with this.
You know, just talking about Cybersecurity Summit, UNCTAD Youth Oman also monitored the MENA edition of the World Cybersecurity Summit 2020. Can you tell us a little more about the event? What really happened there?
So the Youth Action Hub of Oman was the youth partner for the World Cybersecurity Summit, which was organized by Trescon Global. And we were the partner to align the event with the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, in particular, we looked at the Sustainable Development Goal number 9, which is to build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and to foster innovation, especially in the field of IT. And I had the pleasure to moderate the government panel from the MENA region with regard to this conference.
Right. You know, Alena, with COVID-19 happening across the world, which has actually jolted everyone, and now everybody is emphasizing on digital presence. How important is it that cybersecurity is given importance in this regard?
The truth of the matter, you know, is that job here on will require some sort of digital skill. It's a reality that nobody can actually hide from at this point. And that's exactly where security comes into being. When you are moving your entire work, your entire platforms onto online sources, there comes also a very important topic of discussion, which is cybersecurity. Cyber threats are something that happen on different platforms, and it does not only affect individuals or organizations, but it also does affect entire business setups or entire models of construction in terms of working. So cybersecurity is something that is very, very serious. And we did look at this from the point of national as well as individual outlooks from the cybersecurity summit point of view.
Right. Alena, you mentioned earlier in the show that you have been working at for UNCTAD for about 2 years now. So during these 2 years,
Yes.
what kind of concerns have you seen among today's youth in Oman?
So I wouldn't call them concerns per se. I would just say there's a bit of a mind shift taking place at the moment. In terms of the culture of volunteerism, you see a lot of youth or a lot of people nowadays who are very pro volunteering. They want to go out into the community and help people, which is something which is wonderful. And there are wonderful organizations that are set up in Oman that actually provide these kind of activities. Another thing that we're looking at is actually to strengthen the awareness of the sustainable goals, which is also one of the reasons why the Youth Action Hub Oman is created, to kind of work with these 17 goals. Another thing, if I have to talk about in terms of the youth, is how we in Oman in particular are trying to engage the Agenda 2030, which consists of the 17 global goals, with the Oman Vision 2040. So there are a lot of commonalities between the Agenda 2030 and Vision 2040.
Well, I was actually going to point that same thing out because the 2040 vision actually has really like a. When I was reading 2040 vision, it was emphasizing on youth employment, youth job security, and now His Majesty actually has also, started the fund for the youth job security in the country by donating 10 million Omani riyals. So it's very good to see that the UNCTAD youth vision and the Oman's 2040 vision is actually parallel. Alena, talking to you about youth, what advice do you have for our viewers right there and all the youth who's watching the show right now?
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right when it comes to the alignment of both the vision of the Youth Action Oman as well as the Vision 2040. And in fact, there are a lot of similarities in terms of even the goals. For example, we're looking at building more partnerships, which is something that is common. We're looking at preserving natural resources and the environment, which is also common. We're looking at economic diversification, education, lifelong learning. These are all that are very common with the Youth Action Hub vision as well as Oman 20. And I think the best thing that I can recommend in terms of youth as an advice would be to build on soft and hard skills. And that's an absolute necessity in today's world moving into the digital age. Now, your soft skills, things like emotional intelligence, working in a timely manner, or even learning programming. So your hard skills are things such as getting a degree or getting training courses, learning a language, software development, learning accounting. So definitely invest in learning soft as well as hard skills simultaneously.
That's a really very, very nice advice given by you, Alena, because right now people, especially the youth, they are in such confusion because they don't know where exactly to focus, whether it's the soft skills that will take them forward or whether the hard skills. But it is very important to understand that the combination of both is very important to be actually successful or to move forward in the life. On that note,
Absolutely.
Alena, we are going to wrap up our show for today. Thank you once again for joining us. It was indeed a very informative session with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was absolutely our pleasure. Thank you to all the viewers for joining in today's episode. We'll be back again tomorrow if the holiday is not announced today, because according to the Supreme Committee's decision and according to the authorities' decision in Oman, if the holiday is announced for tomorrow, we'll be off. And if not tomorrow, then it's going to be Sunday. So stay tuned and keep watching TTV.
Live on